Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by Mike Smith, Brian Redondo, and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie. This is episode 16, and on today's show, we talk about the PS5 4 months in, and we talk about WandaVision's season finale and what it means for the MCU. I'm confident that this is going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund.
I'm excited for Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah, you should watch
I'm
it.
hyped.
Gotta watch that, and I still gotta watch Brian's movie
$30
of the week from last week.
Judas?
Yeah.
Judas and the Last Messiah.
Yo, that was so stressful. Holy shit.
Oh, was it stressful?
Savon, your thing about though, like bad things happening to black bodies, I actually don't know if you should watch it if you're not into that.
It's interesting because Kendall told me I should watch it. I'll probably end up watching
All
it,
right.
but I'm bad at watching movies in general, so we'll
That's
see.
true.
Raya and the Last Dragon looks really colorful and fun, though, so
It's
that's
fun.
something I'll watch probably soon.
That's easy to throw on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I need some fun, happy
She has a rolling sidekick that she like rides like a one wheel. It's pretty awesome.
bet.
Outrageous. Did you guys see Steph and Dame yesterday?
Dame was nasty. Half court shots.
Yeah.
Like,
Drilling 'em.
ridiculous.
They
In
were
the
like
game.
texting beforehand, apparently. We're like, I'll do it if you do it.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
I mean,
Just-
why not, right?
They were definitely dueling.
Yeah.
And then CP3 threw a lob to Steph, and then Steph threw a lob to CP3.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Okay.
Oh, it was beautiful.
So let's talk about the PS5. It's been out for about 3.5 months now, maybe 4 months at this point. Mike, can you recap the situation for us? It launched November 12th. It's now early March.
This is putting it bluntly and is a bit overreaching, but to sum it up,
That's the whole theme of our show.
essentially, there are no PS5 games, which is, it's so funny a few months after, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there just aren't. And it was so funny, like people really rushing to get it on day one. And that seems silly to me in retrospect, me being one of those people, but it also has been really great on the other hand. So it's kind of weird that it has both ends of that. On the one hand, there are no games, so like rushing, like there aren't really games that can take advantage of the hardware. No one's been able to take advantage of that, and that honestly isn't going to happen for at least probably 2 years, to be honest. So you're not really, like, everything we were so hyped about, that's just not a reality right now. There are a few dedicated PS5 games. So when I say that, I mean it's not something that there's a PS4 version and a PS5 version. Because at the end of the day, if it's developed for the PS4, there are going to be limits on it that is going to restrict the ceiling. So that's, on the one hand, like that, it's kind of disappointing in that there are no PS5 games. Now, the other side of that coin is that this thing runs PS4 games like no other. If you are someone that is gaming a lot, you had a PS4 and you're playing like every day, every other day, it is really worth it because the way it's constructed, the software they have, and the way it works with their hardware has made everything I do on that console way easier and way more enjoyable. Loading times are almost gone, so that's great. There are upgrades and cross-platform games, so things like Ghost of Tsushima are running way better to the point where it's almost a different game, but it's not truly a PS5 game, but it's still really phenomenal to play. And then small things the SSD really come into play with. So it's not just loading screens. Like, for instance, we send clips back and forth for Apex. Doing that used to be a whole ordeal. Joining a party, and Savon knows
Oh
this
my
well,
goodness.
like joining a
Joining a
party on the PS4, literally at the end of it could almost take a minute for me.
Yeah,
to
you and
load
Tyler
that.
had it rough.
Now and we both had pros, which was crazy. So now doing that instantly, like it's really is comparable to when I got my first computer with a solid state drive, and you're just not loading, and things just happen a lot smoother. To the point where it's almost only taken away things. It hasn't necessarily added anything. So it's taken out a lot of the interference for actually just doing what it's designed for: clipping, chatting with friends, playing the actual game. So to that point, a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's not really any different, but aren't really remembering those small things. So even though it's just subtracted, it hasn't added anything, I do not regret it at all as someone that uses my console every day. Now, for someone like Brian, I guess we can kick it to you. Like, we were just talking about this, and you weren't even necessarily like that pumped about it. Then you kind of were, but then mostly not. And you don't really game that much. So how are you feeling about this as someone that doesn't have it yet?
I often forget that the PS5 exists.
Whoa.
Because there aren't any games. There are no killer apps that I'm dying to play that I don't have access to already. I mean, I do really want to play Miles Morales, and I'm holding out.
Can I say something about that before you continue? That it's
Yeah.
sold more PS5 versions than PS4 versions.
And I have a feeling that there are a lot of people out there who are like me, who they want to play it on PS5. They're waiting for their chance, but they know now's not the right time for them to get the PS5. You know, it's not easy to get. It costs a lot of money. There are also a lot of people who are, you know, sort of like late stage generation buyers, right? They wait for price drops.
Yeah.
And you know, for someone like myself, I don't game daily, but I game multiple times a week. And you know, I'm more than satisfied with what's readily available to me, right? We're still in this kind of stage of like overabundance for every type of content out there. And so I'm good. But that will not be the case once, you know, a legit killer app drops on the system. I'm hoping it's Horizon Zero West.
That's also dropping on PS4.
Which is also dropping on PS4, but again, another game like Miles Morales that I'd prefer to play on PS5 once I have it, right? And it'll be, you know, we'll see what happens when it comes out, when I read the reviews and stuff, whether or not it is a jaw-dropping, must-play, right now type of game. If it is, I think that would change my tune. But, you know, for the time being, I kind of forget that the PS5 is even out there, because it's not like I'm going to stores or anything and like seeing it
not really.
and identifying it as something that I need to have that is not in my living room right now.
COVID.
And the bots and scalpers aren't going anywhere.
That's true. Yeah, like I'm not interested in trying to fight for one either.
Hey, Savon, I have a question.
Yes.
So you play 2K1, and you've been into the 2K series for a while. Can you tell if there's advances in either gameplay or the way that the characters move or look?
I mean, they waited a few months to put out the next gen 2K. There were some differences. There were some fundamental gameplay differences, although that definitely played a role. But I think the graphics for games like 2K have already gotten to the point where even on like a next gen system, it's diminishing returns. I kind of fall into the camp of what Mike said ultimately, where it's not even about, like, the visuals part is nice and that's great, but what I really like is just the performance increase. Loading a game is instant. Like, loading a 2K game used to legit take like 2 minutes, and now
so long.
like in the time, like it's quick.
Loading into
It's
a
instant.
game or turning the
just
game
starting
on?
No, loading into the game. So like you
Every
would not pick
time
out
was 2 minutes.
it would take it maybe not 2 minutes, but it took. You could sit and you could grab a snack during that time.
A major snack and probably
You
go to the
could
bathroom.
Get it and eat it. Yeah.
Chip bowl with the dip.
Yes.
Properly played.
Well, 2K last year's game, they did a whole like, they would have like a show,
Yeah, they had
and
a
you
little
could
show.
watch a significant amount
in
of
FIFA,
the show.
they have you can actually play, like it's you one-on-one with a
Yeah.
goalie and like a practice.
It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they don't
you
do
can't
that.
do that. They should totally do that.
Yeah, but I prefer like the load increases, although the visuals are like better and the presentation is better. That's not what has me having so much fun. It's just the smoothness and responsiveness and quickness. Anytime I get a new system, and I've always been someone who's gotten a console right when it came out. Like I tried to get a PS3. In fact, I saved up and bought a PS3 right when it came out. I worked my first summer job.
That was my bar mitzvah gift.
Oh,
ooh, nice.
I worked a summer job with my dad and just say, no, I worked for the city, but I saved up and I bought it, right? And
Yo, those were so expensive.
yeah,
$600 for a
Yep.
60 gigabyte console.
yep.
Yeah.
I spent my whole summer's savings on that. Well, I had money left, but I got a PS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted it. Right? Same with the PS4, same with the 5. When any of those consoles come out, there's going to be launch titles, and a lot of times the launch titles are underwhelming. They're alright, but you know that
I'm
good
looking
stuff
at
is
the
to
list
come.
of PS4 launch titles right now.
What is it?
Angry Birds Star Wars, an
Oh,
Assassin's
ooh.
Creed entry, a Battlefield entry, a Call of Duty entry.
Ghosts. No.
Yeah, it was Ghost. Injustice, a Killzone
awful.
entry. So now here's an original is Knack, which I don't know if y'all are, I don't know all the memes on that, but it's a heavily memed game. Knack, Lego Marvel, NBA, Madden, and Warframe. That was the PS4 launch, and that was like for like a year or two. And I forgot about this. I don't know if y'all remember this, but the PS4 had a terrible launch. And I really stand by my take that like that was the greatest generation in gaming across any console, the PS4. And the launch was so bad. So like I'm not really like particularly worried about this. I don't feel like I shouldn't have bought it so far. But it is crazy that this launch is actually significantly better than the last one.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. For all of the consoles we've had, all of the games that were truly the best games of that generation came towards the end years later. Like the PS4 has been out since what, 2014? God of War came out, 2 years ago? That was one of the best PS4 games. Same with Ghost of Tsushima. That's like 4 or 5 years into the game's lifespan.
Yeah.
And so, and the thing is, when you think about all those launch titles you named, Mike, that's a fair point. With the PS4, that's a lot of games. The one thing that's changed at gaming between, honestly, this past generation is that now live service games are the norm. And whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of us, I know I'm one of those people, don't want to move over from content that I've invested so much gameplay and time into because it's been a live service. So it makes it harder to just make a totally new PS5 game when you have this game that's been a live service through generations that people are attached to.
Savon, you convinced me to wait until 2020.
Yo,
PS6.
8 years.
when Kamala Harris is running for re-election.
like real
That's
talk,
when
like the
I'm gonna
next
get.
big dog generation defining PS5 game not coming out for another 3 years.
Well, this Kina game might be dope.
Yeah, and it's gonna. I never said it won't be dope, but the real stuff historically, man, it's always towards the end. So we have many, many years.
I have a question for both of you that have a PS5. Have you guys gotten rid of your PS4, like out of the house? You've sold it or binned it or something?
Bend it.
I actually just gave mine away yesterday. No, not yesterday.
Okay.
No, yesterday.
You
on
gave
Saturday,
it
over the
away?
weekend. Yeah.
Don't
did I
act like, oh yeah, duh.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that is
old.
I'm not about to go through the effort.
Yeah.
I'm not about to go through the effort of selling it for $80.
No,
or
I
something.
sold mine to my butt. You could have got. I sold mine to
One of my
before
brothers.
I even got the PS5.
One of my
Oh.
brothers. One of my brother's friends.
Mike is a capitalist, though, so it makes sense.
Yeah, one of my brother's friends who's in college. All of them, including myself, we all play Grand Theft Auto. So they asked me if I wanted it. Or they asked to buy it. And I was like, just dude, it's a PS4. Take it. Play Grand Theft Auto. We got another person to play online with.
You would fit perfectly in the world of Raya and the Last Dragon. So generous, so giving.
Mike would too.
I mean, it's a
Yeah,
PS4.
Mike
I
would
have
say
no
that.
use for it anymore.
He'd be in Fang for sure.
You have use for
Um,
money, and that was money. So if we're thinking of it like an NFT, you gave away your blockchain.
But he's got good feeling, and now he's got a buddy who.
and now he
live
feels
Yeah,
good.
but yeah.
Is there an
But-
you can't make a cryptocurrency out of your nice feelings.
Good
Our
feelings.
GTA crew just got a little bit bigger.
You just made me realize that basically everything is an NFT. If we could just like slap a serial number on it.
It's just the value. Just imagine if Mike bought that mic, but not to listen to, but only to save it to resell later.
Guys, listen to if you're listening at home, listen to our episode next week. We're going to talk a little bit about NFTs. All right. So let's move on to WandaVision. It finished. They wrapped it up. Episode 9 ran this week. There's going to be tons of spoilers here, obviously. Brian, tell us, what is the recap, the fate, Wanda, Agnes, Monica, White Vision, New Vision, the sons, Darcy, Pietro, like all these people have these crazy sort of like threads being wrapped up. Like, where are we at the end of this show? And then let's talk about what our opinions are on this show now.
WandaVision really pulled off something kind of incredible. I did not think that they would wrap up all these storylines by the end of the season/series. I also didn't think it would be the end of the series.
So similarly to how when I'm watching stuff, I'm like, oh, Wesley is going to be mad uncomfortable. I'll be watching stuff and be like, Brian would hate this right now.
Mind meld.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think.
I think I'm happy. I'm your conscience telling you that this is good. This is bad.
Or you're just like
Because I
the
have good
embodiment of the constant hating that goes on in my head of like, this is terrible.
I like Brian's taste so far.
I mean, WandaVision. We'll sort of like get into what we thought about it, but I was just pleasantly surprised that they wrapped up all these story arcs in the fashion that they did. Episode 8 was really interesting. They did
flashbacks.
What did they call that episode? They called it
a recap episode.
Yeah,
flashback episode.
What you missed
Previously on.
Yeah, like what previously on. That's right. Which was like a really funny take on what you'd expect from, hour-long TV shows where they catch you up on what happened last week. This episode caught you up on what was going on throughout Wanda's entire MCU history. And, from her as a little girl losing her parents to a Stark missile in Sokovia, all the way to all the events that went down within the WandaVision series. And that was sort of like an eye-opening way to catch up on, how Wanda got her abilities, how she came together with Vision, but also what happened after Infinity War, and how she went to go visit Vision's body and wanted to bury it and mourn for her lover, and how actually she didn't get access to the body, which was a very interesting detail. Which means that the Vision that we saw in Westview was not even the original Vision's body. It was something that Wanda just created. And then episode 9, we have the big cataclysmic battle between her and Agnes. Agnes reveals what she wants from Wanda. She wants the Scarlet Witch's powers. She wants all of that ability. She wants to know how Wanda did everything that she did so that she could take control of it for herself. And of course, Wanda is put to the test, as is Vision, as are their children. And it was a pretty spectacular ending to the series. And like I said, I thought this would be a season, and I thought we would be left with a bunch of cliffhangers that would be followed up in subsequent seasons. But really, they're just setting us up for the next chapter of MCU films.
Well, it's not the next chapter, and that was the craziest. I thought we were gonna. This movie leads directly into. I don't know if it leads directly timeline wise, but it's she's gonna be in Doctor Strange too. So everyone seemed to think there was gonna be like a big cliffhanger leading into that movie. We didn't really get that, and spoilers to the 3 people listening to this.
I think we got 6, maybe.
Yeah, we're just listening to like 50.
Each,
I think we might have
person
lost
has 2 ears.
Might have lost
So
Alexis
that's
and Alexis' boyfriend
ears?
though. It's possible.
Wow.
Yeah, so we might be going backwards.
It was kind of crazy to me that like I felt it wrapped up really neatly. Like we don't know where the character is going, but like there wasn't a direct plot point that you would expect from Marvel in terms of like even in the mid credits or after credit scenes of like someone else popping in. Like I was waiting for Doctor Strange to appear. So like I think I that kind of made me appreciate it more. Is like that whole story was fully resolved. It's not like the villain's still alive or it's connected to a bigger thing. Everything that went on in there was resolved. Like she said goodbye to her family and now she's going off to be the Scarlet Witch. Savon is like a stink face right now. Like I'm way out of pocket here, but like I really felt that. Like I did not think there was any kind of cliffhanger at all. Like I'm interested to see where her character goes. And now like she's studying and doing the same thing Doctor Strange did, but it's a fantastic show overall. Like I think it's one of the best Marvel live action things that have ever been made. And I think when you look at it like fantasy kind of thing, it's way up there just in kind of how visionary it was and what it was able to do like filmography wise. But the show just kind of ended and it's just wrapped up in a nice little one season series bubble. So I think that also kind of took me by surprise of how neatly that bow was tied on the top. So Savon, explain your face.
So much stank right now.
So like I agree with you in terms of just the quality, great experience. I don't disagree with you on that at all. I think maybe you could say the main story was tied in a neat bow, but I disagree about the plot points being like you making it seem. I don't think it was like I'm not dissatisfied by any means, but I don't think that it was all tied with the neat bow. I think there are multiple things that I would interpret as cliffhangers. Again, this isn't a complaint; it's just what I saw, what you saw. Our friend.
So, like, are you talking about like how
facts.
we don't know where White Vision is? We don't know how the kids are going to be brought back or not, like that kind of stuff? Or you mean like other things are still left unaddressed?
So, our FBI agent friend.
Yep.
He said, "I'm calling my friend Cliff," and that person was never.
That was the FBI people that came.
So you're just calling the FBI?
I think so.
It seemed like they were setting up for
You get what I'm
something
saying,
like
huh, Brian? Did you get the same sense I did?
Yeah.
They made it seem like the
absolutely.
name Cliff was important. I didn't look up who Cliff could be Marvel-wise because I still want to have some. If I don't know it already, I want to just be surprised. But that was something I was wondering about. The fact that there isn't.
I was hoping for Clifford the dog.
If Clifford the big red dog would have
The
run into
big red
there-
dog?
Yes, it's a full thing.
Absolutely,
It's
the
a
big
whole
red
name.
dog. Everybody was sliding down his
Clifford
tail.
the big red dog. You got to say the whole thing. So, yeah, you could have him, but there was, the fact that there's an entire Vision that's just out and about.
Yeah.
That's a straight up, that is a thing.
Monica and the Skrulls.
Yeah. We still have Monica. And that's not a complaint, but that story isn't tied in a neat bow. And also, you saw the town of Westview. Those people were looking at Wanda with the most understandable vitriol ever. That's not just going to be unresolved. We can be sympathetic to Wanda because we know her journey, but to the outside world, understandably, she's a monster in terms of what she did to those people.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are going to be traumatized. And that's like a whole, that's a whole thing. And I think Agatha made a good point when she said, you don't know what you've unleashed, referring to like her Scarlet Witch power. A common theme in the comics. You never really have just a chill, got it together Scarlet Witch. She's always a chaotic, neutral type character where, like, not even to be punny, but she's got real chaotic, neutral vibes. She's not just going to be someone who's the all-powerful good guy. She is legitimately dangerous. That doesn't seem like something that trends in the direction of a character who's just going to be heroic. And I don't think she's going to be an outright villain, but I think she's going to definitely come into conflict with many of our protagonists and heroes in a way that, like.
Can I just, you're right. Like, it's a very complex character, and I think, like, kind of what Vision was experiencing was pretty complex. And I think, like, Wes, you wrote the question. I don't really know what this means, but is this prestige TV? I mean, like, the thing that stands out to me in this show is the quality of the performances. Like, this was a dynamic that had been hinted at and, like, had been a kind of a major plot point, but we never really dived in, like, their relationship. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany as Scarlet Witch and Vision both did such a fantastic job. And, like, through, like, them kind of going through this whole traumatic process, and they almost had to take on different personalities. Like, that for me is what shoots this to the top of the Marvel the Marvel pile, or very near the top. Is just the quality of the acting and how having the long form TV show, how that enabled them to kind of act as a Marvel character differently in a way I think you can't really do in a movie.
Can I plug a quick thought, Mike? Because something I've been super excited about. I think I shared this thought with you, Mike. Is that the fun thing about a lot of these MCU shows is that a movie with such an all-star cast, everyone's never going to get a chance to really flex their acting chops because there's just only so much screen time to go around. But a lot of these actors in these MCU movies, these are legitimately established, talented actors. Like, Paul Rudd is mad talented. Don Cheadle's been a veteran way before he was War Machine. You know, Anthony Mackie. These are like people who really they do this. So yeah, they're fun as like a tertiary or secondary character in a movie. But if you give them their primary screen time and writing, you are gonna get a hot fire performance out of them. And you know, like Elizabeth Olsen only gets to do so much when she's not even an Avenger until the end of the first movie she appears. Like she's not one of the main characters. And I'm buzzed.
But that's the thing.
No, go ahead, Brian.
The people you mentioned are pretty established. I wasn't expecting this from Elizabeth Olsen because I haven't seen anything she's been in other than MCU movies where she's a bit tertiary character that really has very little to work with. So her knocking this out of the park every episode, doing both the sitcom-y, winking, humorous timing stuff, plus the kind of out of control, superpowered individual, and grieving mother, lover sort of thing, and juggling all of that together. I mean, that's a real standout performance.
Yeah, I disagree, and I don't know if that's because I'm dumb and bad at TV. It's possible. I don't buy Elizabeth Olsen's performances to the degree that I buy other people's performances in things that we recognize as great movies and TV. And I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to win like a Emmy or an Oscar anytime soon, but...
Okay, but y'all are building her up like she just put on, Oscar-winning performance, and, it's... I could not do any better. She did a great job. I'm not saying that. It's just like I don't buy her and Vision's chemistry to the degree that I think I want to. And maybe it's because their age difference in real life is actually pretty far apart. He's pretty old compared to her. She's younger than the Mary-Kate Ashley Olsen twins.
She's 32.
They're pretty old, though. Elizabeth Olsen is 32.
She's 32.
Paul Bettany's pretty old, though. Like, that dude was in Knight's Tale, and he was already, like, a full-grown adult. Like, that was forever ago. Great movie, by the way. Knight's Tale. Hilarious.
But in the MCU, he's a synthezoid.
Yeah. Maybe that's part of it, right? He's kind of had to be stilted, and so I don't know. Their chemistry to me is a little bit off. I think I do think they would have been better off if two different people were together. But whatever. It's not a big thing. I just think I don't know that I'm like throwing a bunch of flowers at Elizabeth Olsen for her performance here. I didn't not like it. I wasn't like, man, this is amazing. I'm really bought in.
You
really
weren't bought in.
Toward you.
You didn't feel
not to her. Not to her.
Honestly, she had to. I was impressed because she had to just do such a wide range of emotions and situations. And there are people who've done movies for decades who haven't had work that I think would be that challenging. Like, to be grieving, to be angry. She had to really do the whole emotional spectrum. How many times have you seen a movie where Samuel L. Jackson is sad and depressed and crying?
Has he ever been sad on camera, ever?
I mean, that's probably a movie too. My point is
Mace Windu broods a bit.
A lot of actors just kind of typecast and do the same role. And it's hard to in the same show be so many different things.
It's also like you're a superhero, and it's I think a merit for her was there wasn't a time where I ever was taken out of it by her performance. And there are almost all the people in the MCU at a certain point, you remember you're watching a movie and it's not just a drama and it's not just a story. I mean, one of the unique things about this is there's one fight in the entire series. It's 5, what is it? It's 8 hours or so, and there's really only one fight in the whole thing. So the whole show is carried by acting, some fancy film work and some, and tying in other things in Marvel. But overall, it's really just them speaking, and it's just dramatic performances.
It's also like it's carried by the mystery of it.
Which, yeah, but if it was bad acting, you're not. The mystery
not good.
Yeah,
and it's not just the leads, like the secondary actors and all the side characters.
The big takeaway of this show is Kathryn Hahn is a legend. Like, she is so good, and like for her to go from like just like the quirky lady in Judd Apatow movies and like Step Brothers and whatnot to like a Marvel villain, like that is crazy. Yeah. She's the one that
she's definitely the scene stealer.
Yeah, like sure. Agatha all for along was hysterical. That's one of the funniest. Like when they did it, I legit lost my mind just laughing because it was hysterical. But
honestly, like my biggest takeaway is like I'm excited for the other Marvel shows now. Like I'm really excited for.
Yeah, it's not just you know that they can do better than just like action eye candy and give you a great experience. I'm like, all right, bet, let's get cracking.
So now that they've pulled this off, I'm actually really excited because I forgot how much I love Falcon and Winter Soldier's dynamic in Civil War. It's one of my favorite parts of that movie, and that's one of my favorite Marvel movies.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Mike. The Falcon. The Ohio State University.
But MCU's going through a very deliberate passing of the torch phase right now, right? Like, they're very deliberate about the Iron Man passing of the torch to Spider-Man, the Captain, like all of the OG Avengers, like who's left, right? Iron Man's dead, Captain America is essentially gone, Black Widow's dead, Hulk is no longer a ramp. His arc is pretty much resolved, and he's got like a charred arm. Hawkeye at this point is traumatized and wants to be with his family. Black Widow's
Thor.
Dead. Yeah, it's just Thor, who at this point has also been through his whole traumatizing thing, and based on the next Thor movie, he's probably going to give up the mantle. So, like, they're very deliberate about retiring all of the OG Avengers, and now to the point about why a lot of these vet actors were already really talented. Maybe not Elizabeth Olsen, but I think in general, these people get to flex, and it's not really, like Don Cheadle's going to get Armor Wars. There's going to be some.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They use these TV shows, these TV series to make us care about characters who we weren't originally super invested in, so that they can then carry those next several movies.
Yeah, like real talk, I would have never ever thought that like Hollywood would just go with like a Black Captain America, but by just being open to having Falcon in the movies and progressively just making him an established character, they were able to even have that door be open. And
so now the question is, because from what I understand, a big plot point for him becoming Falcon America was dealing with racism in America, and people were not into having a Black Captain America.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, will the mouse do that? And I don't think,
deal with
race?
Is
the mouse like at that level? I don't know if the mouse is.
I hope so.
I mean, Black Panther
I hope so too. I think
Black Panther was pretty on the nose about the points it wanted to make, so I'm not,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't see explicit racism in the movie as much. Like, you didn't see white people blatantly being racism, and I think like for Disney they would
like
feel
on an interpersonal level.
Yeah, like
systemic racism was there, right?
Yeah, but it's mentioned abstractly and conceptually. Yeah. You don't see any specific instances of white on black racism, and I think like if
only in the museum, right, in the beginning.
Yeah. Look, they have honestly. When was the last bad Marvel thing Disney put out?
Thor 2.
When did that come out?
Right. I don't know. Yeah,
they have
some people don't like the Ant-Man movies, but I love them. But maybe those
Ant-Man and the Wasp is great. Like,
they're just fun.
The first one I think is iffy, but I think the second one tied into Endgame in a really cool way. But the question is, one of these shows is gonna suck, right? Like they're gonna miss soon. So what's gonna miss? So.
Shang-Chi.
See, I don't think so. Oh, maybe
coming.
Probably Shang-Chi.
Which they have not marketed. It's like it's crazy.
But here's the other thing.
Maybe they're reshooting it.
But maybe they don't force it, and maybe they like let the show find its natural audience too. Like maybe not everything's meant to be popping with everyone. Maybe there's a show that's not going to be the mainstream one, but it fulfills like the She-Hulk show is going to be a parody comedy show just from the premise. Some people just not going to rock with that. Period. That's all right.
I was just going to say somehow they're still going to try to incorporate it into the larger plot. To force you to watch it. That's for sure gonna happen.
Let's stay on WandaVision just for one more minute. Pietro, the brother, who was the Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies, is revealed in this episode to not actually be, or was it last episode? One of the episodes, to not actually be that Pietro at all. He's just someone who lived in the town. His name is Ralph Boner, which people had a lot of fun with on the Twitters. How did you guys feel about that? Because I didn't mind it when I watched it, but thinking back, I'm like, that was such a huge curveball and like fake out that I sort of,
red hair.
I'm sort of like annoyed
It
that they
has
went
to
that
be
way.
something. No, it has to be something. Like,
And they don't really explain the whole Ralph Boner thing either.
and
like we don't truly understand
the whole
full story
premise
behind
was that Jimmy Woo's character went to look for a missing person and then found the whole town was missing. So I would put a lot of money betting on the fact that Kevin Feige did not just put this in there as like a bamboozle, because this would be the second multiverse bamboozle. The first one being in Far From Home, where Mysterio is talking about a multiverse and it turns out he's just doing the holograms. And this would be the second one. Like, we know we're going in the multiverse direction. Like, I would just be so shocked if he picked this specific actor just to screw with people.
I don't know. I think
it was
maybe.
definitely disappointing.
It was. No, I was really hoping we were going to get somewhere there, but I mean, we know this is leading into a movie that has multiverse in the title.
Okay. So that brings me to my next question, which is, do you guys think, and maybe this is for more the comic book nerds among us, does this show still open the door for Fantastic Four and X-Men and the mutants to enter the MCU? Or do you think that's still, if that's going to happen, that has to be introduced a different way now?
I think that the radiation thing, that was a plot point in the beginning of WandaVision. I don't think they ever fully addressed that, and I think that that's being left open. I'm still gonna ride that tinfoil hat theory that being like, they made a point about it having radiation that wouldn't be dangerous.
Well, the point was that it gave Monica powers.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, that's
could,
what I thought.
Now, that
it's
could
just
be
to
it.
give her powers.
Yeah, and maybe that's because she was in and out of it, and maybe that's the thing. But I also still lightly hold on to the theory that the people in there were under its effects for so long that they got a similar effect, and then maybe they developed mutant powers latently. That's my, I'm going deep down the rabbit hole on this. Like, I will fully admit that. But I think that opens the door for mutants. I think the fact that that town looked at her with disgust and vitriol could be something they could still leave the door open to.
I mean, I would love for the universe to reach its full potential and include mutants in it. And I love Savon's idea that maybe Wanda is the one that actually creates mutants. Just like in the comics, she removed all mutants from existence. So this would be an interesting twist on that. And you know, how she and Quicksilver got their powers, it kind of makes sense, right? They get it from the Time Stone, and maybe Wanda's so powerful that she can then
The Mind
translate
Stone.
that
The Mind Stone.
onto from the Mind
Yep.
Stone. She can then do that to other people using the sort of same ability. So I think that's super interesting. I mean, initially we thought they were going to come through this whole multiverse idea, and that their mutants are in one of the other universes and going to come through the multiverse. But that doesn't seem like a real possibility at this point.
It seems like that'd be harder than it needs
so-
to be. I feel like there's easier ways.
Yeah,
to do that.
there would be a lot of explaining.
You can introduce mutants later in the MCU timeline and just have it be a new phenomenon instead of just multiverse.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Right. It would sort of dilute the idea of mutants by having them come through a multiverse. It's like an extra layer that is kind of messy. So this idea that all the residents of Westview, because of their exposure to the Hex, become mutants, that would be incredible. Maybe Agatha still has a part to play, right? She's sort of imprisoned in her Agnes
Persona.
her Agnes character that Scarlet Witch put her in. Maybe there's some abilities that she was able to glom off of Scarlet Witch that allow her to play a role in shaping what happens to the residents of Westview. whether conscious or not.
They're gonna need Agatha later because Scarlet Witch is gonna get out of
She's
control.
definitely gonna come back in. Yeah, yeah, and you know, and then there's also, you know, what happens with Doctor Strange and his whole involvement with the Scarlet Witch, and they mentioned the Sorcerer Supreme specifically. I think in the last episode, talking about how Scarlet Witch is more powerful than the Sorcerer
which is
Supreme.
a comics thing too. Like, it's very established that she's on some next level ish.
So the clash between those two characters can create some, you know, tons of reality bending madness throughout the MCU. One of which might happen to be mutants.
If we recall, I forgot if it's the end of Doctor Strange or one of the Thor movies, but there's that scene where Doctor Strange is talking to Thor and he's saying, you know, he keeps a watch list of people who are in magic and people who can be dangerous to Earth. And, you know, we see Scarlet Witch reading this dark book and now clearly has had this power awakened. You know, maybe we don't see Doctor Strange now, but this could very much be the beginning of right before them having an interaction or conflict. Kind of the way Ragnarok went into Infinity War.
All right, listeners, you've heard it here first. Wanda and Doctor Strange are going to fight and make magical love mutant children out of that conflict. Should we wrap it up there? I think that's good. I don't know. I enjoyed that show, guys. I mean, not this show that we've done, but like WandaVision, and I'm trusting that the next one, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is going to be great. I really want to see Loki. I'm really, really like looking forward to what they do with that one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you guys are too.
Yeah, I'm just curious how they're going to develop these characters now that they just have agency, not centered around like the old protagonists. Like, I'm curious. That's going to be a big testament to what the writing looks like. Because Falcon, a lot of his initiative in the movies is based around whatever Captain does. He literally says, "Yo, Captain, whatever you with, I'm with." I'm like, all right, cool. Cap's gone. What are your values? What are your convictions? What do you fight for? We'll see.
Amen, brother. That'll take us out. Just like always, make sure you listen, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Like, our show is awesome. You're listening. You're enjoying it. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram @confidently_pod. Brilliant show, gentlemen. Thank you so much. It was amazing.